This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
As expected, we have a spectacular Week 16 slate on tap here across the NFL with a lot of key divisional matchups on tap, beginning on Thursday night with the Chargers and the Broncos, and continuing on Saturday. We got the Steelers and Ravens. We have got the Eagles and Commanders on Sunday as well, so going to be a banger of week. Here to break it all down is Meghan Payton of FanDuel TV. Going to talk to her about her thoughts on this weekend's key matchups and her best bets over at FanDuel Sportsbook across the entirety of Week 16. Welcome on into Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research. Joined here, as mentioned, by Meghan Payton. You can find her on X at Meghan Payton7. Find her over on FanDuel TV, and of course, here on Covering the Spread as well. Meghan, happy Week 16 to you. How you doing today?
Hey, Jim, doing good. How are you? Excited to be here. Crazy that we're Week 16, and I know we say it every week, but now it's like we've got so much playoff implications on the line this week, so I'm excited to dive into it.
And you get to kick your week 16 off in a fun way because you're going to be at the game tonight. So I feel like what better way to celebrate than by watching some good Chargers and Broncos football and then leading into the college football playoffs tomorrow and Saturday and then more NFL throughout the weekend. So I feel like your weekend is going to be tough to match here.
Oh, you know what? It depends how tonight goes.
True.
We're rooting, obviously, for a Broncos win, but some great games on the slate. I was thinking of you last week because Nico Collins got the touchdown, but he didn't get over the receiving yards, which was my favorite bet. So we're looking for a bounce back. And of course, you know, we're always going to be on Texans.
And luckily, we're not touching that game this week. I don't have to talk Nico Collins. I don't have to talk Tank Down. They can't let me down if I'm not talking about that game. So it's going to be a great week regardless. So We'll see how things go. We're going to break down our thoughts on, first, Michael Penix. I'm going to start for the Falcons. We're going to see, should we buy into the Falcons divisional futures? Because that stuff's not done yet. I know the Bucs are heavy favorites, but hey, Falcons still could squeak their way in there. Then we'll go through the key games for this week, beginning by talking about the Steelers and Ravens, Eagles and Commanders, Vikings, Seahawks, and much more to get you ready for Week 16. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Just search for Covering the Spread. Hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating and review if you like what you hear. Also, these shows do now stream live on the brand new FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, where you can also find Meghan's favorite parlay for week number 16. That is up as a video right now over on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Go there, check that out. Hit subscribe and then turn on notifications to get notified as we go live Monday through Friday. Tomorrow, Austin Swain will join me breaking down his top player props for Week 16 and our college football playoff round 1 breakdown with Riley Thomas already posted over on the YouTube page as well. The brand new playoff is here. This year, there are 12 teams, which means there's even more chances to win on FanDuel. The action starts on Friday, and right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just place any $5 bet. You get $150 in bonus bets if you win. You can use your bets on spreads, live bets, over-unders, talk some team totals with Riley yesterday too. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Make every moment more and download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, today. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/Chat Connecticut. Visit MD Gambling Help at Oregon, Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Now, we're going to start things off here by talking about the Atlanta Falcons. Still in the playoff hunt, making a big move this week. They're going to go to Michael Penix as their starter over Kirk Cousins. And they need a lot of help to make the playoffs because the Bucs are in the driver's seat right now, and the Bucs' schedule is not that tough down the stretch either. But the Falcons are now plus 320. So, Meghan, can Penix help them get there, or is that too tall of a task for a guy making his first career start this weekend?
It can't get worse, right? Like, it can't get worse than, knock on wood, 9 interceptions in 5 games and 1 touchdown. Kirk Cousins, he looks like the rookie. It's wild to see the fall off that he's had, honestly. Started the year really well, and then he looks inaccurate. He looks nervous out there. The confidence is gone. Is Michael Penix going to be the fix for the Falcons this season? I don't think so. I think Tampa is just a bit ahead of them. I love the Bucs. I think that the Falcons are just trying to figure out how to change the juju a little bit, change the momentum. And so I fully believe that Raheem Morris made the right decision benching Kirk Cousins. It's just now it's a little bit too tall of a task when you're going up against, a Bucs team that has put up over 31 points on average the last 4 games, 40 points against the Chargers last week. I don't think Michael Penix can do all that much in order for the postseason this year, at least.
Like, if Michael Penix can make the Bucs lose, then sure, I will buy into the Falcons potentially making it, but they're not going to play each other. So I think this one is really about the Bucs. My confidence in them, my confidence in Baker Mayfield, Liam Cohen, Mike Evans. They've been good enough this year to earn my trust. So I can't abandon at this point. I did lay the 3.5 with them against the Cowboys too. So for me, at least, and it sounds like kind of the same for you, not backing the Falcons is more about our faith in the Bucs than it is an indictment of where we feel about Michael Penix is right now.
100%. I actually think that Penix could go 3-0 the rest of the year, but it's just now, unfortunately, the Falcons need other things to go in their favor. He's got a pretty easy schedule relative to a rookie coming out. I mean, the Falcons had the easiest schedule, quote unquote, at the beginning of the season, and he gets to finish the year with a Giants pregame phone call. So sorry about that one. But no, I think that it's a good decision. I get the decision. I wouldn't be backing them when you've got the Bucs involved.
I think that's the big thing for me too. Okay, so we're staying away from the Falcons' futures, but excited to see what Penix can do, especially because he's got a pretty good situation around him as well. Let's talk about these fun divisional games beginning on Saturday as these Steelers take on the Ravens right now. FanDuel Sportsbook. Ravens favored by 6.5, and the total in this game is 44.5. George Pickens was just ruled out for the Steelers. Also no Justin Fields, so no weird short yardage packages for Fields in this one. So a tough setup here for the Steelers as big underdogs. They did win the first matchup, though. So, Megan, can they keep this one close enough to cover, or do the Ravens take care of business here?
This is one of those games where I lean Ravens. I like the Ravens. The 6.5 scares me a bit because the Steelers are one of those teams that I feel like it took me a bit to buy into. Yeah. I'm bought in. I'm not playing the spread or the side in this. I love Lamar Jackson over his rushing yards in this game. So he had 46 last time they played. And now we're seeing him, run the ball a little bit more. I feel like early in the year, and this is sometimes just how Lamar is, like those October, September games, he's not having to run as much. And we've seen that kind of increase as the weeks have gone on. He had 75 yards against the Eagles just 2 weeks ago. And if you look at this first game, there were a couple design runs for Lamar, but he really wasn't scrambling all that much. I believe he only ran 4 times. So with that pressure, is going to cause him to scramble more. I think that we can get over this number, and I think they're going to have to get over this number going up against the tough Steelers defense.
We talk about this every year during the playoffs, where you see quarterbacks run more when things are the importance of the game ratchets up, because it's like they're not worried as much about protecting themselves, and like it doesn't get a lot bigger than this game because the Ravens need to win this game to win the AFC North and get that first round home game, which they might not get if they lose. Well, probably won't get if they lose this one as well. So it is an important game. We're going to see quarterbacks run more in the situation. Steelers are tremendous at limiting scrambles, but I think, like you said, we see more design runs for Lamar. That number is now 49.5 for Lamar. Is that okay with you? It's gone up a bit, but is that still an okay number for you?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, again, he still had 46 the first time they played, and now he's going to have to rely on that just a bit more. So I think with the design runs plus the scrambles, we can get over this. And he's gone over it, I believe, in 4 straight, 69, I think, last week, and then 75 2 weeks ago. So I think Lamar's going to be running all over.
Yeah, last week, despite not having to do much in the fourth quarter because they were up
Yeah,
so big
exactly.
in that one as well, which probably won't happen here given the way that the Steelers and Ravens games tend to go. So Megan is on the Lamar Jackson rushing prop over 49.5 is minus 114. Let's go to Sunday and talk about a massive rematch once again between the Commanders and the Eagles right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Eagles are favored by 3.5 in this one, and the total in this game is 45.5. Obviously, that first game, Eagles 8-point win there. It was a bit closer maybe than that final score would say. Maybe that's just cope from me because I bet the Commanders there in that one, trying to say maybe my bet wasn't as, it was bad. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought though. But how do you see things playing out here in the rematch?
I like the Eagles. We talked about this last week in the vibes, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and we said, well, what changes bad vibes? Winning. Right. And now they're looking for their 11th straight win. And though the Commanders Eagles game the first time around, maybe it was a little bit closer than the score, there were still 2 missed field goals by the Eagles in the first half. Like, Philly's a better team. And though I mean, I do love the addition of Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders, they barely beat the Saints last week.
Yeah.
The Eagles are the most complete team right now in terms of health as well in the NFC. Saquon Barkley might have gotten shut down by the Steelers last week. I don't see that happening. So I did lay the 3.5 with the Eagles, and I love Saquon. I outlined it 100+ rushing yards. He had 146 the first time around. And the problem with this is even if you try to load the box to shut down Saquon, well, you've got 2 insanely good wide receivers that Jalen Hurts is connecting with now. I don't think that they're going to be able to stop Saquon. So I outlined it up to 100 before last week. He's been going over this easily. He had 255 yards rushing just like a couple weeks ago. So I think Saquon can get over 100 again.
We talked about the rushing for quarterbacks and how they rush more during important games. And Saquon is kind of like the catalyst of this team, where he's not the quarterback, but he is like the catalyst behind making them tick. So I think they're going to try to scale back Saquon eventually to try to keep some wear and tear off him. This is not the game to do that because the NFC East is not yet wrapped up. Like, you can't bet it. I don't think it's officially done yet, though. And they want to win this game. They want to close things out here against the Commanders, against a divisional foe. So, Megan, that outline you were talking about, 100+ yards for Saquon Barkley, even money at FanDuel Sportsbook. I think it makes a lot of sense just because, like, you got to lean on your stars in the biggest games, and they really don't get a lot bigger than this.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's one of those games where if they do end up stopping Saquon Barkley, okay, they do. But then if you think they're going to, have to protect Devontae and AJ Brown, then he's going over, I think the traditional line's at 91.5. So it's one of those games where maybe he has 140 and maybe he has 75. I don't think there's going to be much of an in-between here. And I lean on the side of 100, 115, higher even.
Well, you can bet it as high as 175. So there you go.
That might be 13-1.
I mean, you got the Josh Allen 2+ touchdowns last week at +9 and +900. So who's to stop us from crazy alts? And kudos to you on that call with Josh Allen as well. Megan is on Saquon Barkley, 100+ rushing yards, even money at FanDuel Sportsbook. Pretty fun game in the NFC. Now that we know that Geno Smith is going to play for the Seattle Seahawks right now, FanDuel Sportsbook. Vikings here by 3 on the road, despite Geno being ruled in there. Total in this game is 42.5. So Geno's going to play, Megan. Can he do enough to help the Seahawks cover here against a very strong Vikings team?
He can do enough to get the win. I took Seahawks to win on Tuesday. It was +146 when we weren't sure whether Geno was going to play. Full participant, obviously. Yesterday, he's going to play. I like the Seahawks straight up on the money line. This is a team that's very desperate. I mean, they had the 3 seed going into last weekend, and now they're on the outside looking in on the playoff hunt. And it's not necessarily about buying into Geno Smith. It's about buying into the defense. We've talked about the impact Ernest Jones has had for Seattle. It might be the biggest in-season addition we've seen in 2024 because it's not just about the tackles and that they were like bad at the linebacker position, but he's one of those guys that just has those impact plays. I mean, the interception with the Rams a few weeks back, and it just changes the momentum. I really like the defense here. I think the Vikings obviously are the tougher team in the conference, but not to say that the Vikings don't have the same motive, but they're just not as desperate as the Seahawks. Vikings want that 1 seed, but a lot has to go still in favor of them. They'd essentially have to win out to get it. I think Seattle desperate at home, probably a little bit rainy and wet. The defense holds up, and we see a lower scoring, gritty game.
And I think that what impressed me with the Seahawks last week is you watch the first part of the game against the Packers, and they were awful defensively. Yeah. But once the Packers built up that lead, the defense clamped down in a really impressive way. And I was very invested in that because I wanted the under, so I was rooting for the Seahawks defense, and oh boy, did they come through. It was as if there was just no room to operate at all for Josh Jacobs, and I think that was impressive to me, where they made in-game corrections. They were able to turn that defense around, literally like in the game, change the game plan, find a way to stop the Packers from doing this ground and pound approach, and it worked. And that to me is impressive, showing me you can adapt on the fly and make changes when your game plan going in very clearly was not going to work based on what the Packers had done early on.
Yeah, that game was frustrating to watch, honestly, especially I was on Josh Jacobs. He got the touchdown, but I had it parlayed with his rushing yards, which he couldn't get. And that's credit to the Seahawks defense and the way that they were to adjust after the half. And that's what you want to see from a team, is that they can make those correct adjustments. And against the Vikings, I don't think that they'll be able to run the ball as well with Aaron Jones. And again, like desperation here, like the Vikings are in the playoffs. They're in a much better situation. Seattle's season is on the line here. This feels like a playoff game and a must-win game for the Seahawks.
It is a huge game for sure. So Meghan is on the Seahawks money line, not the spread, the money line, which is plus 130 at FanDuel Sportsbook as of right now. Okay, Meghan, we're also seeing value across this very fun Week 16 slate at FanDuel Sportsbook.
I love the Rams-Jets game a lot. Another team that has momentum. NFC West division. It's so fun right now because it's completely up for grabs, but the Rams are the one feeding off the momentum. And what I really liked is we're seeing the ways that they can win. You know, they had the crazy game against the Bills, over 80 points combined, and then they follow it up with no touchdowns versus the Niners. So this team's complete. They're ready to go. I know that the Jets offense found, a little bit of stride, and Devontae Adams was nowhere the first half and then ends the game with over 100 receiving yards. I think the Jets defense is still vulnerable. I think we'll see a big Puka Nacua game. I think we'll see actually a big Kyren Williams game as well. So I took them part of a parlay Rams money line, but I'll also throw in, the more I've dived into this game, I'm like, I'll take them to cover as well. So I've got Rams on the road to cover at -3.
And that is at minus 120 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. You talked about the Jets game last week. They let up 26 points to Mac Jones.
Exactly. They almost lost to Mac Jones and the Jags. Don't be fooled. Don't fall for the trap again. The Jets are not a good football team.
Right. I bet the Raiders this week. That's how bad the Jaguars are. That's how, to make me put money on Aiden O'Connell in 2024, you got to be bad. And that's where the Jags are. And I don't want to overreact to the Jets based on what they did against that specific team and that specific secondary. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I adore the Rams, bet them to make the playoffs a while ago. So riding high with them. Feel good about that. So Meghan likes the Rams -3 and -120. She mentioned the moneyline parlay. You can find that video again over on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page for the full details of what Meghan is eyeing over there. That is all that we have for today here on Covering the Spread. As mentioned, back with you once again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on the YouTube page, breaking down top player props and touchdown picks with Austin Swaim. And again, our college football playoff first round preview with Riley Thomas is already up here on this exact same place. Go subscribe there, leave us a thumbs up. And if you like what you hear, again, turn on notifications to get notified as we go live Monday through Friday. Also have our DFS preview on the YouTube page as well. Meghan, enjoy the games tonight. Have a lot of fun and enjoy what should be a fantastic weekend for football across the board.
Thank you, Jim. Happy week 16. Good luck with all the bets. Excited to talk more next week.
And you can find Meghan on X at Meghan Payton 7. Find her on FanDuel TV. I am at JimSannes on Blue Sky and X. You can also find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. Break down some player props for Week 16. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.